In a kingdom where gold glittered brighter than honor, Sir Justin dared to do the unthinkable. He challenged the throne of pop, faced the inquisitors of the Council of Critics, and turned his back on the poisoned banquets that had crowned him king. Surrounded by betrayals, treacherous potions, and ghosts from the past, he endured public battles, humiliating falls, and above all, the haunting image in the mirror. This is the true legend of the wandering knight who, before it was too late, forged his own freedom and paid the highest price. If you seek more fables from the Forgotten Thrones, comment, subscribe. The next tale may already be awakening. Sir Justin wasn't born into the pop kingdom, he invaded it. Raised in the modest outpost of Stratford, far from the palatial courts of Los Angeles and New York, he was discovered not by lineage, but by algorithm. A YouTube peasant turned noble overnight. Lord Usher, a gatekeeper of the royal industry, plucked him from obscurity and ushered him straight into the court of stars. By the time he was 16, Sir Justin wasn't just a rising bard. He was the face of a global obsession. His anthems, Baby, One Time, weren't art. They were product. He was no longer a boy. He was a commodity. And the kingdom devoured it. The pop kingdom has no mercy. With every hit, Sir Justin's chainmail tightened, adorned with the sigils of corporate sponsors and contractual oaths that made him more mascot than man. His life was no longer his own, dictated by touring schedules, marketing campaigns, and publicists who knew how to craft an image, but not how to save a soul. His alliance with Lady Selena was a calculated match by some, a genuine bond by others. But either way, it became public property. Their relationship, dissected by every bard and chronicler, became the kingdom's favorite soap opera. Will they reconcile? Did he betray her? The whispers never stopped. But even as the court marveled at their youthful entanglement, another threat loomed: the Council of Critics. This shadowy consortium didn't just review his ballads, they defined his narrative. With one proclamation, they could elevate him to sainthood or exile him to obscurity. For a while, they celebrated his ascent. A charming knight with golden locks and angelic vocals. But the council grows bored easily. They began to murmur, is he truly talented or just lucky? Is he disciplined like Lord Timberlake or merely an impulsive child? Sir Justin, once the darling of the kingdom, was now under constant surveillance, not just by the paparazzi order, but by the very industry that birthed him. He wasn't oblivious to it. The first cracks began to show as he publicly bristled against the machine that had made him. He started collecting tattoos like battle scars, as if trying to reclaim ownership over his own skin. His every move was captured, twisted, commodified. The boy from Stratford had become a knight in name only, armored, but ultimately trapped. The stage was set, a golden cage, a manufactured throne, and a restless knight on the verge of rebellion. This was not going to end in a love song. The machine that made Sir Justin was now the machine trying to break him. As his fame intensified, so did the expectations and the punishments for failing. The Council of Critics began dismantling the golden image they helped erect. Articles, reviews, interviews, all sharpened like daggers. They didn't want the boy next door anymore. They wanted blood. The cracks in his perfect facade widened with his highly publicized breakup from Lady Selena. Once the kingdom's ideal couple, they had become an ongoing civil war, fought through passive-aggressive posts, veiled lyrics, and awkward award show encounters. The kingdom didn't just observe, it fed on it. Every ballad he released was dissected. Is this about Selena? Has he moved on? No, the kingdom wouldn't allow that. The relationship, dead or not, had become property of the masses. Meanwhile, the inevitable comparisons to Lord Timberlake intensified. The council pitted them as avatars of two eras. Timberlake, the polished elder statesman. Sir Justin, the chaotic rebel prince. The message was clear. Timberlake survived the machine. Would Justin? Under pressure, Sir Justin began to implode publicly. There was the infamous paparazzi confrontation when, cornered by the relentless photographers in a London alley, he lashed out, pushing, cursing, snapping. The images went viral before he had even left the scene. "The sweetheart turns savage," screamed the broadsheets. The Council of Critics issued their judgment swiftly. His behavior was erratic, his public persona unstable. Some painted him as a ticking time bomb, others as a spoiled brat. Few bothered to ask why he was unraveling. Fueling the dissent was Sir Justin's increasing association with what the kingdom called the dark arts. Mysterious late-night parties, unidentifiable elixirs, and questionable companions. The enchanted lenses of the paparazzi caught it all. Every misstep, every indiscretion, splashed across magical scrolls and enchanted screens, worldwide. But perhaps the most damaging blow came from within his own camp. His marriage to Lady Haley, meant to symbolize a new era of stability, instantly became another front in the war for his public identity. Instead of applause, he faced a new scandal, an offhand, callous remark about her never making the cover of the Vogue Codex. Once private, the moment became public. The council crucified him for it. The knight who undermined his own lady, they declared. And as his enemies multiplied, so did his mistakes. Sir Justin wasn't just losing control of his narrative, he was losing control of himself. The prodigy knight, once the pop kingdom's greatest hope, was now its most public casualty. In the making, the battle was no longer for chart positions, it was for survival. As the months passed, Sir Justin's spiral wasn't just personal, it became a public spectacle. What had once been minor incidents now cascaded into major scandals. His run-ins with the paparazzi order became almost ritualistic. On multiple occasions, he was caught on enchanted lenses shoving photographers, cursing at them in broad daylight. These weren't private breakdowns, they were national broadcasts. The kingdom watched, spellbound, as their once beloved knight seemed to wage war against his own reflection. But the situation escalated even further with his increasing association with Lord Chris Brown, one of the most controversial figures in the realm, long exiled and despised by many for his violent past. Sir Justin didn't just maintain ties, he openly supported him. When Lord Chris was arrested in Albion for yet another violent offence, Sir Justin made the fateful decision to publicly extend his allegiance. "Sending love to my brother," he declared on the kingdom's crystal networks. The backlash was immediate and fierce. The Council of Critics called it a disgrace. How could the boy who once embodied innocence now stand by an accused criminal? Even some of his most loyal supporters began to question if Sir Justin had any grasp of the optics or consequences of his alliances. But it didn't stop there. The paparazzi scrolls soon published damning images. Sir Justin caught at a studio, session in the capital, pulling from a forbidden herb pipe, surrounded by a haze of smoke, and a collection of anonymous figures dressed in courtly disguises. The story wrote itself. The knight succumbs to vice. His publicists scrambled to spin the tale as youthful indiscretion, but the council wasn't buying it anymore. Then came another dagger to his public persona. Resurfaced footage showing a much younger Sir Justin fraternizing with the now disgraced Lord P. Diddy. Once celebrated as a mentorship between two titans, the narrative turned sinister as the kingdom re-evaluated everything in light of Lord P. Diddy's mounting accusations of misconduct. Sir Justin's old alliances now seemed like liabilities, skeletons dragged from the royal dungeons into the unforgiving daylight. By this point, even his performances, once his greatest weapon, had lost their luster. His appearance at the festival of the Grammy was met with tepid applause, especially after a tense, unspoken standoff with Lord Drake. Drake's star was rising meteorically, while Sir Justin's seemed trapped in a death spiral. Where Sir Justin once commanded the attention of the realm, he was now the subject of its morbid curiosity. And the worst part, there was no single villain to blame. Not the council, not his rivals, not the paparazzi. The enemy was the very system that had made him, and perhaps, even more painfully, himself. By now, Sir Justin's descent was no longer a series of isolated incidents. It was an unrelenting freefall, with every new scandal tightening the noose around his public image. His erratic behavior intensified. Appearances once meant to showcase his artistry devolved into tabloid fodder. At a hockey game in his homeland of Toronto, he was photographed looking gaunt and vacant, his once celebrated vibrancy replaced by an unsettling frailty. The enchanted scrolls circulated the image globally within hours. Sir Justin, a knight, in decline. The public speculated wildly. Was it illness? Addiction? Mental collapse? Sir Justin offered no explanation, but his behavior continued to feed the narrative. In a bizarre and widely mocked broadcast on the kingdom's Crystal Network, he rambled about fishing and God, exclaiming, "God works all things together for Gucci." The Council of Critics seized the soundbite instantly, branding it proof of his unraveling sanity. The bard, once lauded for his controlled performances, now appeared erratic and incomprehensible. His marriage to Lady Haley, already under scrutiny, suffered further under the public magnifying glass. The council didn't miss an opportunity to weaponize his past missteps, continuously dredging up the Vogue Codex insult and framing it as evidence of his inability to support even those closest to him. Meanwhile, his history with Lord P. Diddy remained an ever-present albatross. With every new accusation against P. Diddy emerging from the kingdom's courts, old footage of Sir Justin socializing with him resurfaced, now tinged with sinister undertones. No longer was Sir Justin seen as an innocent protege. He was depicted as a knight complicit, or at the very least, dangerously naive. His professional moves also failed to reverse the tide. Attempts at releasing new anthems were met with indifference or outright skepticism, as the kingdom's attention shifted to newer, more stable knights like Lord Drake and the ever-resilient Lady Taylor Swift, who both continued to dominate the realm's airwaves without self-destruction. For Sir Justin, it was clear. The very kingdom that once propelled him to unimaginable heights was now actively cheering his fall, and behind every scandal, every meme, every viral scroll, the same unspoken question lingered. How much further could he fall before he broke completely? Eventually, Sir Justin did what many predicted, but few truly understood. He vanished. No press conference, no farewell anthem, just a sudden withdrawal from the kingdom's endless festivals, duels, and courtly appearances. One day he was everywhere, the next, he was a ghost. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed he had retreated to a monastery in the mountains. Others whispered of rehabilitation dungeons or secretive spiritual enclaves. The truth was simpler. Sir Justin had finally reached the point where public survival meant private disappearance. After years of being dissected by the Council of Critics, hunted by the paparazzi order, and betrayed by the very system that built him, the knight had nothing left to give. He abandoned the stage that had become his battlefield. But exile did not mean peace. Inside the fortress of his own making, Sir Justin confronted the most relentless enemy, himself. The mistakes, public feuds. With Lady Selena, the support for Lord Chris Brown, the missteps with Lady Haley, and the associations with Lord P. Diddy were no longer just headlines. They were scars etched into his identity. For months, there was no music, no scrolls, no sightings, only silence. Yet within that silence, something shifted. Away from the toxic noise of the pop kingdom, Sir Justin began to rebuild, not his public image, but something far more fundamental, his sanity. He reportedly rekindled private alliances, sought guidance from mentors, and began composing again. Not for charts, not for validation, but for survival. By the time murmurs of his potential return began circulating, the kingdom had already moved on. New nights filled the airwaves, new scandals occupied the scrolls. But for Sir Justin, the exile wasn't about reclaiming the throne of pop, it was about rejecting it. When he quietly re-emerged, it wasn't with a grand declaration or a viral anthem, but with something far more defiant, silence about the past, and a refusal to play by the kingdom's rules ever again. He delivered the one message the kingdom never expected. You can't destroy what no longer seeks your approval. Sir Justin's last great viral moment wasn't a song, a scandal, or a comeback. It was a random outburst on a fishing trip, broadcast live to the kingdom. God works all things together for Gucci. No one understood what it meant, but it didn't matter. Within hours, it was everywhere. Memes, reaction scrolls, endless commentary. Critics called it a breakdown. Fans claimed it was genius. Others shrugged. Just Sir Justin being Sir Justin. That moment said more about his place in the pop kingdom than any headline. Irrelevant and essential at the same time. A man reduced to sound bites, yet refusing to give the kingdom anything real to work with. While Lady Taylor Swift, Lord Drake, and Lord Timberlake carefully maintained their spotless reigns, Sir Justin drifted further into chaotic anonymity. He didn't announce albums or court public favor. He showed up when he wanted, said something bizarre, and disappeared again. His marriage to Lady Hailey became part of this myth too. Always together, but always distant, leaving the kingdom guessing. He never clarified anything, never addressed the lingering controversies, not the support for Lord Chris Brown, not the footage with Lord P. Diddy, not the fallout with Lady Selena. He simply stopped playing, and that was the final move. Silence, unpredictability, and complete refusal to conform. The pop kingdom tried to crown him, tried to crucify him, and then tried to resurrect him. Sir Justin rejected all of it. Now, he exists as a living legend of how fame can consume you, unless you walk away first. If you want more brutal, true tales from the Forgotten Thrones, subscribe now. The next story is already being written.